Alright, so here's another radio from the batch of radios that I got from the wife of a guy who developed dementia. She got in contact with me and through email and said that she had a whole bunch of radios that he had, and if I was interested I could come get them and have them, or she was going to throw them in the trash, and this is one of them. I've got lots more. I come back with 2 truckloads full, so anyway, it basically 2 truckloads because these were disassembled, a lot of them. I think this was one of the very few that was whole, so it was missing a few parts like the knobs, and I was able to find those, and so this one's kind of a mystery. I have no idea what was wrong with it. It's pretty scratched up, kind of dinged up, and it's got some scratches and stuff on it, but you know, that's the way a lot of them are. Anyway, this is a Stewart Warner, not a very common brand. A lot of the radio brands back then were, I'm swatting a mosquito, excuse me, this mosquitoes are getting bad this year already. Anyway, it was pretty common, I would say, back in the 20s and 30s, I guess, but this is a I think a late 40s set. I want to say 47, 48 was the year that I saw on it. What's kind of unique about this radio is AM FM, which is, it's a pretty early AM FM set, and also it uses miniature tubes. Most stuff from the mid to late 40s I've seen usually use octal tubes, and this uses miniatures. So anyway, this is a model A is an Alpha 72, T is in Tango 3. Like I said, it's, you know, from 1947, 48, from what information I could get. I think it's a 7-tube set. So your standard AA5, 12B6, 12BA6. It's got 2 12BA6s, 3 12BA6s, a 6AQ6, a 12H6, and a 50B5 audio output tube. So that's the tube lineup in it. See, anyway, the cord was, this actually has a rear cover to it, but it also, you know, has the loop antenna on it here. It kind of acts like a cover if you didn't have that other cover, but anyway, it's got both covers, which is pretty rare. Most of them don't have all that. Usually this cover right here usually gets lost over the years, but it's got it. And anyway, the cord was stuffed up in the back of the set, and then I also found this, which is the dial pointer and the dial string spring. So say that 5 times fast. So anyway, so that, at least we have that, but of course the dial cord's broken as always, and we got some wires hanging out here. I believe these probably go to the loop antenna. So anyway, I plugged it in, and I got it, tubes lighting up and the dial light lights up, but nothing. No sound, nothing, no static, no buzzing, no humming, no nothing. So it's pretty much dead. So let's dive into this and see what all's wrong with it. Alright, here's the chassis. It's a typical AA5 chassis from the mid to late 40s. And unlike most, though, this one has FM on it. There's the model number printed on the chassis. I wish a lot of manufacturers did that, but because sometimes those paper labels end up coming off and then you have problems trying to figure out what model it is, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, it's got our regular bread slicer or whatever you want to call it style tuning capacitor. And yep, these wires look like they probably went right here. So it looks like to me that I looked up under here, it's already been monkeyed with, and it's got replacement capacitors in here, and a lot of the original paper capacitors still remain, so we'll have to look into all that. It's like this set has a selenium rectifier, so I'm sure we'll need to check that and see if it's choking off the voltage or whatever, like they normally do when they get old. They start choking the voltage off, and then the set don't have enough power to run on. A lot of times you just replace that with a diode and a dropping resistor to take up the lack of resistance you know, that a diode has. A selenium rectifier has a lot more resistance in it, so it has a tendency to knock back the B plus voltage with a lower value or no resistor at all. But you put a diode in there, you're going to have to compensate for the lack of resistance. So anyway, yeah, let me take a look at this and see what all is going on with it, and I'll turn it back on in a second. Well, I can tell you right now, one thing I definitely don't like is this. You see how close that terminal is to this dial string shaft here? Look how close that is. I mean, if you push that in, that would touch. It just about touches there. So yeah, that's definitely not good. So we're gonna have to do something with this. I mean, this is gonna most likely come out anyway, but that's not gonna work. All right, I stuck a piece of paper in there between those two as a temporary insulator. I just want to see what this thing's doing. So it looks like we got 115 volts DC output from the selenium rectifier, which is acceptable to me. That should be enough voltage to run the set. So we know that's not the problem, but I do see this. Looks like this wire here might be broke loose here. Not sure what that goes to. Looks like the band switch. Alright, let's try this again. Let's see. So I figured I would use the signal tracer to try and track our problem down here. Don't seem to be getting any kind of audio, and if I get anything, it's very low. So this thing is, this signal tracer is, you know, if you do any small little movement, it's gonna make noise. So anyway, so I'm getting a little bit of signal in the first audio. Or IF can there. Got a little bit there, and then you come down to the second one here.
4903. Again, 800-527-4903.
You're getting a pretty stout signal there. So the problem doesn't seem to be in the front end of the radio. It seems to be more in the audio amplifier or preamplifier stage, which would be in the, you know, towards the more closer towards the speaker. So I think that's what we're going to look into. Alright, so I've traced the signal to the grid of this, what is this, a 6AQ62, I believe it is. Yeah, 6AQ6. So this is the grid. So we got signal coming in there, but nothing coming out of the plate. I'm not getting anything coming out of this plate. And when you measure voltage on that plate, it's negative voltage. You should be positive, and it should be, you know, 40-ish volts. So we got something going on coming out of this tube. So I need to dig in a little deeper. Don't know if it's the tube or, you know, some kind of circuitry involved, but that's what I got to look into. Alright, so I substituted this 6AV6. It was listed in the tube substitution book, and that didn't give me anything either. Same thing, it still got negative voltage on the plate, so we got to figure out what's going on. Something in the circuitry, I reckon, but I always like to try another tube and see if it's something easy, but nope, no dice. Alright, so I found an issue. I've got to figure out exactly what's going on, but so we have this plate, the pin of the pin 7, the plate of this 6AQ6 tube here, and this is supposed to have 40 something volts on it. So we've got this resistor here that comes off here. It's a 470. That resistor checks fine. Then it goes down over here to, I believe it's pin 6. Yeah, this pin 6, which is supposed to have 95 volts on it. See if I can get up in here and show you. This thing has got so much crap close to the output tube, but you've got this piece of wire right here that's been cut off to something, and I don't know where it goes, but I have a feeling that this is our missing voltage source here, and probably the reason why the radio doesn't work, because somebody cut something off, and somebody's been doing some meddling that they didn't need to be meddling with. Imagine that. So let's see if I can figure out where this goes, or where it's supposed to go. Well, that sounds a whole lot better. I only figured out what it is.
So I kind of did it.
So, that's where I got these clip leads clipped in. The broke off piece that was the broke off wire or lead that was on pin, what was it, pin 6 on this 50B5 output tube goes to this capacitor, and then this hooked to a wire that goes back to the filter capacitor, and obviously this got broke off of that broke off lead. I mean, this is where it goes. Schematic shows this capacitor goes from pin 5 to pin 6, pin 5 being the plate, and so yeah, this broke off of there, and that's why it wasn't working. So what I need to do is clean up this garbage that, you know, all this J-hooking stuff that he's done on here, that stuff's got to be cleaned up, and it's got to be done right. That's the reason why we've got a problem here. So, you know, this tube is extremely hard to access. There's a whole bunch of stuff going to this tube. So I've got to get that straightened out and see if I can't clean some of this stuff up. But that was the problem, and I'll show you on the schematic here. Let's see here. This is going to be kind of hard to see because it's hard for me to see. The schematic printed so small, and I actually had to go check the schematic on the computer that I've got saved, and it's a lot better than this. But I actually had to go in there because I couldn't read this number here. It's so small, this little number here. But this is pin 6, this is pin 5. You got this capacitor here that's denoted as number 99. That's the capacitor that I just showed you, and it hooks to pin 6, and then this goes back to the what is this, 106C, which is the filter capacitor. It's a 40 microfarad. This is where the B plus is getting voltage from this feed here. Well, when this is broke off, this is not getting anything. And actually, this number 89 is wired here, and it gets the voltage feed, which was broke off. So this number 89 is not getting any voltage. That's why we weren't getting any voltage on our plate here. So with that restored, the radio works. Hopefully that'll make sense to you. Well, now I'm just getting a bunch of crackling from the speaker, and the selenium rectifier is only putting out 96 volts. So I don't think that's enough to run the radio off of. Something's going on with this thing. So I don't know if something, it's just crackling now. I don't know if it's something dragging down the voltage or the selenium is just taking a dump. It's probably taking a dump. Alright, so it's back working now. That selenium rectifier is kind of screwy, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I think it's flaky and it needs to be replaced, so we'll probably do that. But it's picking up 970, so it's not doing too bad. But anyway, I give the IF cans a little tweak, and that woke it up quite a bit. So, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and restring this dial so I can tune the thing and work on it. By the way, the FM is completely dead on it, so we got that to look into as well. I don't know what's going on with the FM, but at least we have some kind of audio output to the speaker now. Alright, so we have our dial pointer and our spring there, and I think I'm going to try to use some of this looks like 80-pound fishing line. I believe they were using this for dial string, so it was included with the radio stuff. So I'm going to try to use this and see how this works for dial string. If it does, I got a whole bunch of it and won't run out, and can probably get this fairly reasonable compared to what they sell dial string for. Alright, I finally got it strung, so it's like 3 turns around here, the tuner shaft, then it goes up here, ties here, and then the other side goes up, around, up here. Got 2 roller wheels right here, so this one goes over the first one here, then it goes down around here from the top to the bottom, and then back under, and then over this outside wheel here. Then there's a wheel up under here, another wheel here, and then it goes down, around, and ties off. And you got to get it tight to get it to work, because if it ain't tight, it'll slip. So anyway, got it done. That fishing string seems to work pretty good. It's really hard to cut with a pair of scissors, so that's how tough it is. It's pretty good stuff. So I think that'll work out. I'm glad it worked, because I got a lot of it. Oh, I found this capacitor cut loose from down there, if you can see it, that place right there, that pin, or they cut it off. Somebody cut it off. Right there. So, I mean, it's one of them old paper caps. I guess I better replace it. It's a 0.05 microfarad at 200 volts. It's kind of a small one, but I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. I mean, it's old anyway, and it's already half cut out of there. Whatever it goes to, it ain't supposed to be like that. Alright, so it looks like the reason why the FM isn't working is the primary winding in this IF transformer here is open on the FM side. These IF cans are kind of strange. They're a combination for the AM and FM, and the first two. So you have separate windings for the AM, or separate primary windings for the AM, and separate one for the FM. But the secondary winding couples to the next tube in the radio stage, or the IF tube, and this, and so it's got the same secondary winding, but the primary winding is. So that's why why it's working on AM but not FM. The FM primary winding is open. So in my opinion, when you run into this, it's just not worth fixing. I mean, this is an All-American 5, and that's one thing that can kill it is the coils. If the coils go out, you're pretty screwed. So I'm not going to even bother trying to fix that on the FM. It's just not, there's no parts, and it's not worth pulling apart, trying to rewind it and all that. So if it's a family heirloom or something like that, or an extraordinary set, then yeah, maybe. But this is just an ordinary All-American 5, from the late 40s. There's nothing really very special about it. So I got the radio for free, so it doesn't really matter to me. It does work pretty good on AM, so we'll just use it for an AM radio. But yeah, I really don't see much use to put a whole lot more time into this set, to be honest, because it's just not, when you got something major wrong with it, it's just not worth putting a whole lot of time into. So you can't win them all. I mean, I got 40 radios for hauling them off, basically. So this is kind of to be expected. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the coil opened up on its own, or it was done because something was shorted. I don't know. I just I got this radio just like this, and it's just how it is. But again, it does work on AM, and besides the selenium rectifier, which I believe needs to be replaced, most of the capacitors in this set that are critical to it have been changed. So I'm probably just going to leave it the way it is. I may come back later and replace that selenium rectifier, but again, it's not something that I'm going to be using a lot, and I'm not really concerned about it. It does make enough voltage to run the radio. It's a little on the low side, and it could eventually short out. But again, I'm probably not going to cover that in this video. We're just going to kind of wrap it up and move on to the next set. So again, you can't win them all. It's just kind of the way it is. Some things are just not worth fixing, and in my opinion, this is one of those sets. I mean, it's just the way it is. You can't save all of them. So anyway, I guess we'll throw this thing back together and do a band scan and just kind of wrap it up. So to kind of explain this a little bit better, this schematic is a little bit more of a clarified type of schematic on here, and I thought I'd explain this to you. On the first IF, on the FM side here, this coil, or this section of the IF transformer coil, is open. On your AM, there's a separate primary winding here, from here to here. So when you switch to AM, you're running off of this coil. When you switch on to FM, you're running off of this coil of the IF transformer. Because they're different, the IF on this is 455, and your typical AM or FM IF is 10.7. So you have to have a separate coil. It's like two different IFs in the same can. That's how they got this working. So anyway, the FM is open and it's just not worth fixing. So I just thought I'd explain that on the schematic. Alright, here it is back in the cabinet. Cleaned up the cabinet a little bit. It's nice and shiny now. Turned out pretty good. Let's see, we're on 650 WSM. The dial scale's off a little bit, but that's where we're at. A little bit of electrical buzz interference in the lower end of the band. That's been pretty common lately.
In there, mother theme music today. My website, drjoe.com. Boy, we'd love to be your doctors.
He started Dynamite. I started seeing great improvements. Today, 99% of issues are non-existent.
Starts talking about it, and everybody's like, what? We're having a blast. We're in our 20s.
First offering to Verdugo in the dirt, ball one.
But then you realize wedding, family reunion.
Like a mixture of two different stations there.
Distracted. Chances are, they will be too. What kind of driver are you raising?
God do for you when you prefer. Though the ritual has developed, the sacrament's the same. To compensation. The manufacturer of these military earplugs recently paid.
Congratulations. Now, children's about like what?
First on a Wednesday. And by the way, in case you want to avoid any type of flight delays.
$13.40 so close to about wipe everything out.
Dead is called into heaven and is seated at the right hand of God, the Father Almighty.
Now, compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
A lover, or you just read someone's social media post, but you...
Incredible historic sites they get.
Civilians in the name of his son. In windows and doors of our houses.
Yes, windows and doors, and I'm excited to say that the tax credits are back. Yeah, if you are...
All right, there it is, 1947
up to a $600
Stewart Warner.
$500 door credit. There's never been a better time to talk about windows and doors.
Yeah, and they are special.
What is this,
windows and doors of the aluminum company.
Yeah, they're
72T3.
cold air coming around your windows. If you have
So,
a ride on the windows,
got it partially working.
deserve to have good windows in your house. There's never...
No luck on the FM, but the AM's working, so at least it can be still used for as an AM set. I don't think the FM is worth fixing on it. It's just, you know, unless you can find another IF transformer, it's just not going to be worth messing with. So anyway, we'll keep it around here for a while. You never know, we may find some kind of part or something for it somewhere in a box or something. No telling. But anyway, it's working for now, and appreciate you watching. And hopefully we'll get on to another set here pretty shortly. Thank you for watching.
To come in and try.
And by the way, that that station we were just listening to was not WSM. It was 680 WPTF. So that dial scale is not too badly off.